Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. We're thrilled to have you with us once again. If you love stories of adventure, resilience, and the beauty of simple living, then you're in for something truly special today. In this episode, we invite you to join us on a remarkable journey, one that follows an ordinary family who made an extraordinary decision. They chose to step away from the hustle and bustle of modern life, leaving behind the convenience of city living and the comfort of the electrical grid, to pursue a dream of building a home in the heart of nature. With nothing but determination, love, and a powerful vision, they began crafting a life from scratch, building their own shelter, growing their own food, and learning to live in harmony with the environment. Along the way, they faced challenges, made mistakes, celebrated small victories, and discovered the true meaning of home. After finishing the foundation of the house, the family moved on to the next important step, building the wooden frame. They spent a lot of time choosing the right type of wood. It had to be strong enough to last for many years and stand up to the sun, rain, and wind. Some of the wood they bought, but some they cut down themselves from trees nearby. They cleaned the wood, removed any bugs, and made sure it was safe to use. Building the frame was not easy. They didn't have big machines or modern tools. They had to do everything by hand. Each person in the family helped. One person measured the wood, another cut it, and others helped lift and hold the beams in place. On hot sunny days, they worked while sweating a lot. There was no rushing, no loud shouting, just quiet focus and calm teamwork. Together, the family lifted each beam with care, guiding it gently into its position according to the layout they had planned. The soft thud of wood meeting wood, the tap of a hammer, and the occasional creak of timber filled the air, a humble soundtrack to their progress.
That's thus far, but out of
One person stood below to balance, another climbed up high to guide the end of the beam, while someone else, often the mother, stood nearby with watchful eyes, always ready to lend a hand or whisper a careful warning. Easy now. A little more to the left, she might say, her voice blending patience with concern. Slowly but surely, each beam slid into its place, locking in with the others like puzzle pieces. The frame of the house began to take form, no longer just a plan in their heads, but a real structure standing proudly beneath the open sky. Every wooden joint tightened, every crossbeam secured brought them closer to a finished whole. Though the roof was not yet raised and the walls were still bare, the skeleton of their future shelter stood strong, a silent promise of warmth, safety, and a life they had chosen to build together. Early that morning, while the forest was still wrapped in soft mist and birdsong echoed through the trees, they set off together to collect additional timber. Long, sturdy beams were carefully loaded onto their old wooden cart. It creaked and groaned as they pulled it slowly along the bumpy, muddy trail leading back to their building site. The wheels left tracks in the wet earth, and the sound of timber knocking together filled the quiet air like a gentle drumbeat of progress. Building the roof frame was delicate work. It required balance, timing, and teamwork. One by one, the rafters were lifted high above their heads, angled perfectly to meet at the peak of the house. One person would hold the beam in place, while another carefully hammered it into the joint. Each time a new piece fit securely into position, there was a shared moment of relief and pride. After many days of hard work building the frame and roof structure, the family finally reached one of the most important final steps, installing the metal roofing sheets. This stage was not only about protecting the house from rain and sun, but also symbolized that their home was almost complete. They began by carefully measuring each spot where a door would go. Using an old wooden ruler and a pencil, they marked every detail, double-checking the height and width. Then they selected the best wooden planks, straight, strong, and smooth, and prepared them for use. Each piece was sanded, treated to prevent termites, and cut to the right size with steady hands. Assembling the frames required patience and accuracy. One person held the vertical beam steady, while another checked the angles and slowly hammered the pieces together. Sometimes they had to adjust, remove a nail, or realign a board, but no one was frustrated. They understood that these doorways would soon open into rooms full of laughter, rest, and warmth. When the first frame was finished, they stepped back and looked at it in silence. It was simple, just 4 pieces of wood joined into a rectangle, and yet it felt like a doorway to their future. Then they got back to work, building the next one, and the next, each one carrying a little more of their effort, love, and hope for the life ahead. After the door frames had been firmly installed, the house finally had shape, but its walls were still bare. The open spaces between the wooden posts left it vulnerable to wind, rain, and the cold. To turn this structure into a real home, the family knew it was time to build the walls, the outer skin that would protect and shelter them. With their materials ready, they began to build. Each wooden plank was placed carefully between the upright posts of the house, like pieces of a puzzle finding their place. One person measured, another shaved the edges smooth, and someone else hammered the nails. The steady rhythm of hammering echoed through the forest, like the heartbeat of a home slowly coming to life. With the wooden walls now firmly in place, the inside of the house began to take shape in a new way. But to make it truly livable, cozy and comfortable in all seasons, the family knew there was one more important step: installing insulation. Carefully, one by one, they placed the insulation between the wooden beams of the walls and ceiling. Every gap was filled, every corner sealed. They took their time, making sure nothing was missed. As they worked, they chatted about how warm the house would feel in the coming winter, and imagined their first home-cooked meal in the small kitchen that would soon come to life. After placing the soft layer of insulation inside the walls, the house began to feel quieter, warmer, and more protected. But there was one more important step before the interior could truly feel like home: installing the interior wall panels. They selected long, smooth pine boards, checking each one for straightness and grain. Before use, they gently cleaned and sanded the surfaces, stacking them neatly around the house. The air inside was filled with the sweet scent of fresh timber, a smell that spoke of new beginnings and the presence of nature. As sunlight streamed through the unfinished windows, the golden lines of the wood shone with quiet charm. Once the wooden wall panels were finished, the house finally began to feel like a true home. But there was still one important piece missing: the ceiling. It was time to install the interior ceiling panels, the final layer that would wrap the home in warmth and care. They chose lightweight wooden boards with soft, natural grain and a pale tone that would make the interior feel open and airy. Each panel was carefully cleaned and treated to prevent moisture and insects. This task was more challenging than others. It required working high off the ground, often above their heads for long periods. To them, the kitchen was more than just a place to cook. It was the heart of the home, where everyone would gather around warm meals. Start each morning with the gentle scent of smoke, and end each day in the soft glow of firelight. So they approached this task with extra care, as if building a sacred part of their future. That evening, they lit the stove for the first time. White smoke curled up the chimney, rising clean into the deep blue sky. The first dancing flames inside the small kitchen didn't just warm the walls, they warmed their hearts. Sitting together around the stove, they boiled rice, roasted a few sweet potatoes, and smiled at one another, knowing something had quietly changed. As the main living space of the house neared completion, warm lights spilling through the windows and the kitchen fire glowing in the evening, the family turned their attention to something small but meaningful, building a wooden staircase to reach the loft. The construction wasn't complicated, but it required care and balance. They started from the bottom, anchoring the angled frame securely, then attaching each step one by one. One person held the frame, another measured the spacing, while a third hammered the nails in steady rhythm. After several hours of focused work, the staircase stood proudly in the corner. Simple, strong, and beautiful. The wooden steps rose gently to the loft above, like a quiet invitation to climb into a new layer of their home. When the eldest child stepped up to test the stairs, the wood creaked softly beneath his feet, not in protest, but like a whisper of welcome from the house itself. After completing the loft stairs, after the kitchen fire had been lit each evening, and the rooms were warm with wood and love, the family turned their attention to the front of the house, to a part they had always imagined with quiet fondness, a front porch. They planned a simple design, a wooden extension gently sloping from the house's front wall, with a matching metal roof to shield against sun and rain. The support columns were solid timber, treated to withstand the changing seasons and steady winds. To them, the porch was not just a roofed area outside the door. It was a way of life. It was the place to kick off muddy boots, to sit in the late afternoon breeze, to nap on a summer day, to sip tea and watch the children play. It was the soft threshold between the comfort of home and the open breath of nature. First, they dug deep holes to anchor the porch posts into the ground, pressing them down with care and packing the earth tight. Then came the horizontal beams, connecting the porch structure to the main house roof. The father worked from a small scaffold to secure the screws. The mother passed him each board from below, and the children sat nearby, eyes wide, waiting for the first strip of shade to appear on the dirt floor. With the porch frame now standing firm, the floor smoothed out beneath their feet, and an old bench settled in its corner, the family turned their eyes upward to the final piece, building the porch roof. Though small in size, the porch roof held great meaning. It would be the shelter for rainy afternoons spent watching droplets fall, a resting spot during the heat of midday sun, and a gentle shield through which the morning breeze would pass. More than just protection, the porch roof marked the visual beginning of the home, the first thing one saw upon arrival, and often the last image remembered when leaving. After countless days of sawing wood, hammering nails, lifting beams, and letting sweat quietly soak into the grain of every board, their home was finally complete. The sound of tools had quieted. The rush of quick meals and makeshift sleeping spots on dusty floors had ended. In its place stood a small wooden house, proud and gentle, humble yet full of life, rising from the earth like a promise kept. This house needed no luxury. It didn't need to be big or grand. Because what made it priceless was this: it was built by their own hands, with their shared strength, their time, and their hearts.